Well, hello everyone and welcome back. This is Street Talk and we are here at Trump Fridays. Our special guest, this is Jonathan Gilliam. Jonathan, it's great to have you here.
It's good to be here.
Well, you know, I know a lot of our audience is saying, wait a second, I've seen that guy before.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say. I mean, I used to be on the news a lot back when they used experts. Now they use young people and anybody that can push something out, some kind of lie that they're saying, that's who they use. They don't really use experts.
Yeah, I think Max Headroom comes to mind, doesn't it?
Exactly.
All right, now they know you because you were on the cover of the Smith Brothers cough drop box. Is that right? With
yeah,
the beard?
I wish I had, yeah. You know, it's interesting because this beard was huge up until last week and I trimmed it down. But I had not, so I got COVID in April. And I didn't shave my beard until literally a week ago.
In solidarity?
In solidarity, and it was huge. And so now I trimmed it down and people can recognize me a little bit more.
But you know what? You can still be on Duck Dynasty.
That's right. Well, I'm the more educated cousin, I guess. I'm from Arkansas. That's what we're Louisiana's educated cousins.
Well, I'm a big fan of Mike Huckabee.
Yeah, he's a good dude, a good guy. This is a good story. When I was in college, I went to the governor's mansion. They had a big open house there, and Don Imus was there. And Huckabee was living in a trailer because they were working on the governor's mansion. So literally in Arkansas, Mike Huckabee was living in a trailer at one point.
You know, I have a great Mike Huckabee, and I normally don't tell these stories, but this is a great story and you'll appreciate it. I went on a cruise. I was the cruise director on a cruise ship where Mike and his wife and some friends came on. We became friends. We had dinner and just we've kept in touch all these years. And everybody was getting ready to get off the ship. I happened to be standing there and I saw some guests kind of tiptoeing behind him. And they came up to him and they tapped him on the shoulder and they said, "Excuse me, do you mind if we get a picture?" And he said, "Of course not." And they handed him their camera and they said, "Ray, can you come over here? We're going to get a picture with you." And here Mike Huckabee is taking a picture of me with the guests. And I came back and I said, "Mike, I got to tell you, I'm very embarrassed." And he says, "Well, you know, Ray, I can honestly say, this has never happened to me before." I said, "Well, Mike, let's get a selfie because I'm going to tell this to everybody."
They need to get him and all these other people who've moved to Florida to come out to Arizona. I don't think they realize in Florida that you have everything that you have in Florida, with the exception of the ocean, but no humidity. I mean, you got way more sand, much more beach, but yes, you don't have the ocean, but the humidity is not here, and I just love it out here, and the conservatives out here are amazing.
Yeah. Well, you haven't been to Saguaro Lake or Canyon Lake?
I haven't yet. I tried to go to one of these lakes when I was here last summer, and it was shut down. It was so full.
And that happens. Yeah. And, you know, we just had some Trump flotillas.
Yeah. That I still have yet to have anybody invite me onto a flotilla.
All right, listen, Michael, we need to get a boat. Can we get a boat? We got to have Jonathan come on out. All right, so how would everybody have seen you? Now, I know you've been on Fox, but tell us a little bit about you. I know you got some books that were out. You were here for some signings, and just you were speaking from the heart to everybody here at Trump Fridays. We appreciate that.
Well, I learned a long time ago when it comes to speaking, it's a lot like doing radio. You know, I host, a lot of people know my voice because they've heard me on Hannity, hosting for Sean Hannity, Gorka, David Webb, and Andrew Wilcox on Sirius XM Patriot Channel. And I have my own podcast now called The Experts. But I wrote this book. I wrote a book, and I came out, and I'm trying to market this book to people so that they can understand how to be safer, how to look at themselves from an attacker's point of view. But when it comes to speaking and also writing, what I've learned is I learned from radio, and I learned to speak from the heart. Because you know, when you do radio for 3 hours,
they're not looking at you.
No, they're not looking at you. You really do hone the skill of speaking from the heart. And I found that, you know, coming out here, I'm not doing this. I'm not coming out here and meeting with people just to make a name for myself. I mean, there's a reason why I'm going around, and it's not. I'm using the book sales to basically sponsor myself to go around and do this. But ultimately, the American people are constantly asking me wherever I go. They come on my podcast, on social media, and they say, "We see what's happening. What do we do?"
Right.
And so me going around and meeting all these people and talking is a way to start getting people coordinated in one mindset. And I don't know if the liberals have realized this, but the leftists have actually put the majority of American people into one way of thinking, because simply the fact that everybody's asking what do we do means that they're all thinking the same way. And that is an extremely good thing for the American people and for freedom.
Right.
For us to be asking,
Right.
what do we do? How do we sustain freedom? We should have been asking this a long time ago.
We really should. It seems like we've been asleep, but I think what you're talking about, situational awareness.
Yeah.
You need to know what's going on. A lot of people live their lives. They go to work, they take care of their families, they go to church on Sunday, but they really don't know what's happening around them. It's time to open our eyes.
Listen, church on Sunday is a perfect example. A lot of people, I grew up in the South, a lot of people go to church on Sundays. They even go to Sunday night and on Wednesdays. And then they go home, and when you ask them, tell me about the Bible, they can't tell you about the Bible. They don't really study it.
Well, it's an event.
Yes.
They just go there to see their friends and hang out.
And freedom is the same way. People know they have it, they use it. They know that people go out and defend freedom by serving the military and law
Right.
enforcement, but they don't realize that they are responsible for it.
Right.
And one of the ways they're responsible for it is by if they allow the left, and the left does exist. The left is a real thing. You can look back all the way to the Greeks. They talked about the progressives.
Right.
The progressive leftists it's always been like good and bad. The leftists have always been there. And the fact that we've allowed this to happen, it shows you how important our involvement in freedom actually is. And that's the whole goal of this, going around and meeting people and writing this book, is to increase that awareness.
And freedom isn't free as well. And as Dennis Prager always says, anything the left touches, it just is destroyed. Everything.
Because they're not looking for a solution. So there's a whole thing called the Hegelian dialect, right? They make up the problem, then they offer the solution, and then they handle the outcome if they get things their way. The problem is when somebody like President Trump or groups of conservatives stand up, they start to their whole plan starts to fall apart.
Right.
The fake problem starts to be exposed. Their solution for it is exposed for how ridiculous it is, and the real reason why they're wanting to do it. And so their solution gets pushed out of the way. But that's the problem. We allow because the media and the echo chamber, we're allowing these problems to manifest themselves as though they're real, and they're not.
They're not at all. People make up things all the time. Oh, well, you know what? This is social justice. Well, it's either just or it's not just.
Yeah.
Justice is justice.
You know what the interesting thing is about sitting here with you doing this discussion is that I feel like we could be doing a play-by-play for the way the left is destroying the country. I mean, almost like sports. We could
Right.
sit here and be like, saying, well, I see that he's now moving to the 50-yard line where he's going to burn down cities.
Right.
That is exactly what's happening. And everybody that I've talked to here and all around the country, they see what's happening. They understand they can now predict what they're going to do, but still people are asking, what do we do? And the first thing is dialogue.
Right.
And how do you have dialogue? It's not on Twitter. You need to get up
Right.
and go meet. The restaurants, I don't know if the restaurant industry has realized this, but the restaurant is the front line of this civil war that we have now, because people are able to go and meet and have dinner, break bread, and actually discuss what's going on.
Well, you know this, but many people don't. At the founding of our country, everything was met at the public houses. And of course, that was shortened to pub, right? But all these things were discussed. They were discussed at the pulpit, on church, and then they would go to the pubs. And it's still in England, it's exactly the same. When you go out to a pub, it's the whole family goes. It's not a place to go and get drunk.
Right.
It's a place for everybody to meet.
Right. And we really do need to bring back public involvement. Nobody ever goes to city council meetings. Nobody ever goes to school board meetings. And people don't realize that this whole game that's being played, they look at the president, they look at the federal level, but they don't realize it's the local level where freedom is being suppressed. Ultimately, tyranny is going to be at the local level.
I was talking to Guy Phillips, who served the last 8 years on the Scottsdale City Council, and he says that right now they don't even invite the public to come in to the council meetings.
That's the way tyranny works. I recommend that everybody goes and watches the movie or the show on Netflix. I know it's on Netflix, but it's called Turn. And I talked about that tonight, and it's about the revolution and how George Washington and his spy ring, the Culper ring out in Long Island, how they battled against it. They're going to watch that, and they're going to sit back and go, wow, that's actually happening now. The occupation is happening now. It's in our phones, it's in our schools, it's in our TVs and computers, it's in our news. And if you insult or what they consider insult, or you say something that's your opinion, they will cancel you. They will cancel you. So
now, what if? Tell me something. What if somebody tried to cancel you? and you just said, I don't accept it.
Well, it's funny you say that. I don't know. Do I have my phone here? Yeah. Let me read you what I wrote on Twitter. This is, and I pinned this at the top of Twitter. Let me load it here. And because exactly that, I saw what was happening with the Black Lives Matter and all this fake stuff. This is what my top pinned tweet says. Racism and bigotry do not exist in my heart. I serve to defend freedom for all lives, races, gender, sexuality, and even the unborn. I didn't wait until George Floyd's murder to understand what's happening in our nation and take action. If you want an apology, go elsewhere.
Good for you.
So
Good
I
for
put
you.
it out there, and that's what I'm finding. And I'll tell you this: if people stand up together, especially if they stand up together. Listen, George Floyd was murdered. There's no doubt. I was a law enforcement officer. Once somebody's cuffed, you don't do what they did to the guy, right? But what happened with George Floyd is not a sign of of this fake dilemma that they think is going on in the country. You have to stand up to the left because they will make things up. They will use instances like George Floyd's death to push out their this whole program of destruction that they want for the country, and we have to stand together and stand against it.
All right, walk me through this for a second, right? A tragedy happens like George Floyd,
Yeah.
right? We know that immediately they were arrested, they were charged, right? That is how our justice system works, right? And then we go through a process, right? They
Right.
have a trial in front of their peers.
Right.
They pull up all the evidence, everything's going on. So why are they protesting something that is already in the process?
Because George Floyd's death, racism, oppression has nothing to do with what the left is doing. They use that as a springboard to cause the destruction, to cause the division, but none of these people are going to the inner city to solve the problems, to bridge the gaps, to get drugs out of there and start promoting families that have fathers. They're not doing that.
No.
It's all fake. It's all scripted, and it's just they're gonna. As long as we allow it to happen, they're gonna keep doing it.
I'll tell you what, if somebody tries to cancel you, just say, I don't accept it. I don't accept it.
That's it.
Hey, it is so great having you here.
You got it, my
Thank you so much. And join us here each week for Trump Fridays. We always have a great time. El Campo Restaurant. My name is Ray Michaels. I am your state Senate candidate for LD24, and I'd love your support. Whatever you can do. Thank you so much.
my friend.
Great again to have you here. And until next time, we'll see you real soon.